Go subscribe to him. And I took a clip from one of his videos, because this is education purposes only, right? And we need to educate and spread, no matter who is the one that's spreading the word, the truth, right? So I'm letting you know right now, I don't care if it's the Nevada, California Athletic Commission for that state doing the test. I don't care if it's USADA. Well, USADA was there. They're not there anymore. I don't care if it's Vada. If it's post-testing, it's not enough, okay? And this man right here, Michael Montero, will explain to you the science why post-drug test is not enough. So no, let's go further, because the science is more important than what I got to say. Let's go.
Guys, I gotta say, man, there's nothing like being at the fights. I love being in the gym. I love being in the ring. No matter where it is, there's just something about being at the fights, man. There's something about being in the ring. There's just nothing like it. I've played pretty much every damn sport. Basketball, football, soccer, baseball, track. There's just nothing like boxing, man. This sport is awesome. It's the greatest sport in the world. I hope you guys are enjoying the fights tonight. We got a great welterweight matchup. I like Crawford. I think he's going to have a late stoppage win. Possibly it goes the distance. But if anyone can stop Sean Porter, it's Terrance Crawford. Either way, he's going to get the job done tonight, and I think he's going to make a statement.
Talk about the different anti-doping agencies, how they differ, which are legit, which are not, which tests are legit, which are not, which fighters are taking the legit tests, and then I'm actually going to tell you how to cheat a drug test. If you know second grade level math, you can pass a USADA drug test right now. Put on your seatbelt. This is going to be a bumpy one. I'm Michael Montero, and this is the truth about drug testing in boxing. I want to talk a little bit about the different doping agencies. So we have USADA, as I mentioned before, the United States Anti-Doping Agency, which is about 15 years old. A lot of people think this is a government agency. It's not. It's an individual corporation, all right? And they got involved in boxing in 2010 with Mayweather's fight against Shane Mosley. This is right after negotiations broke down between Floyd and Manny Pacquiao after that first wave of negotiations. And as we all know, it came down to drug testing. And that's when USADA kind of saw an opportunity to jump into boxing. USADA tests for the TE ratio. This is your testosterone to epitestosterone ratio. Those are two hormones that are in your body all the time, right? And generally speaking, your ratio, without getting into a bunch of scientific stuff, for every testosterone, there's one epitestosterone. And generally speaking, epitestosterone is the constant. That doesn't move. So the ratio is 1-to-1, okay? Just keep that in the back of your mind. Most human beings have a 1-to-1 ratio, but a lot of athletes, your ratio might go to 2-to-1, 3-to-1. 95% of people on planet Earth have a 3-to-1 or less TE ratio. A very, very small percentage, I'm talking about less than 1%, have a 4-to-1 ratio or higher. These are all things I just want you to keep in the back of your mind, okay, as we get into some of the testing protocols, how to cheat these tests, etc., etc. That's what USADA tests for. They do blood testing, but all this stuff can be found in urine testing as well. They do blood and urine testing. Then there's Vada. That's the Volunteer Anti-Doping Agency. They do the best test we have right now for finding synthetic testosterone. That is the carbon isotope test. I'm not even going to get into the science behind this thing because it'll take too long. But basically, if you have used synthetic testosterone or synthetic epitestosterone, at any point, it will find that in your blood, in your urine. Both USADA and Vada adhere to the rules set by WADA. So you got USADA and Vada that reports basically to WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency. okay? The test that Vada does, that carbon isotope test, is very expensive. It's $400, $500 a pop. The tests that USADA does are very, very standard. It's what the state athletic commissions use. Very, very cheap, a couple bucks a pop. So USADA's rationale for not using that carbon isotope test is, hey, it's very, very expensive. But here's where that gets a little fishy, all right? When you look at their fee structure, USADA is charging more for their services than Vada is. One quick example. Vada charged $16,000 to do the drug testing for the Matisse-Provodnikov fight. USADA charged $36,000 for the Andy Lee-Peter Quillen fight. All right, so even though Matisse-Provodnikov cost the agency much more money to adhere to testing, they charged less than half of what USADA tested. So is this about doing what's right for the sport, or is this about doing what's right for people's wallets? Keep that in mind as we go forward here. Let's talk about IV Gate, all right? May 1st, Floyd Mayweather leaves the weigh-in, goes home, gets an IV. USADA officials come to his house to do a random drug screening. They see evidence of an IV, they question him about it. He says, hey, I had hydration issues, I wanted some vitamins, that's why I took this IV. They gave him a therapeutic use exemption, basically saying, okay, you popped for this, we caught you red-handed, but even though this is a violation of WADA, we're gonna give you an exemption. Now here's the thing, part of the contract that Floyd and Manny and USADA all had together was that if somebody popped for something, or one of these therapeutic use exemptions, or TUEs, was administered by USADA, everyone would know within 24 hours. That did not happen. In fact, it was almost 3 weeks later, on May 20th, that Pacquiao and Errol, and even the Nevada State Athletic Commission were made aware. That is a clear violation of rules. So not only did this whole thing go against WADA's rules, which is who USADA is supposed to adhere to, but it even went against the contract that both sides signed with USADA to cover this fight. It doesn't look good. Now, some of you might be asking, so what? It was an IV. It was saline and some vitamins, apparently. That's not a drug. That's not steroids or HGH or whatever. What's the big deal? Those of us in the sports community, we know for years, athletes have been trying to dilute their urine to pass tests. And talking about hydration, let me just briefly say, Floyd Mayweather has never struggled to make weight. He walks around at 150 pounds, very comfortably makes the welterweight limit. He's never had an issue where he's missed weight. I've been to a million weigh-ins. I've weighed in for sporting events myself. I've never seen anyone hook themselves up to an IV after a weigh-in. Most people just pop bottles of water or vitamin water, Gatorade, whatever it is. And that's what Floyd usually does. None of this looks good. Here's something you probably didn't know. And I'm gonna go in his article, pull this right out of the original contract that was presented to Team Pacquiao in March. Okay? Remember when Floyd and Manny the fight was almost there, and there was all this internet chatter that they almost had that fight signed, but there was one more thing that holding it up, and this was it. In March, in early March, I'm just reading this right off the article here. USADA presented the Pacquiao camp with the contract that allowed the testing agency to grant a retroactive therapeutic use exemption, TUE, to either fighter in the event that the fighter tested positive for a prohibited drug. That retroactive exemption could have been granted without notifying the Nevada State Athletic Commission or the opposing fighter's camp. What does that mean? That basically means Floyd wanted Manny to agree to, hey, if I test positive for something, not only do I not have to tell the commission, I don't have to tell you. Now, Floyd was going to give Manny Pacquiao the same standard, but Pacquiao and his camp looked at that and said, hell no, that is insane. I'm not going to sign that. That was that last snag. that was keeping things from getting officially announced. Another thing that most people know, but maybe some of you don't know, the day of the fight, Manny Pacquiao asked the athletic commission in Floyd's camp if it would be okay if he got an injection in his shoulder. He had hurt his shoulder in camp for a Toradol shot. That's just a painkiller. Legal substance. Legal under Vada, USADA, all the ADAs. With the sanctioning bodies, it's BC and BA and all this B stuff. With the doping thing is it's ADA anyway. So yeah, legal substance. And the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Floyd's camp said, hell to the no. You're not getting that. Even though 24 hours before, USADA and Floyd kind of made a little agreement with each other. Hey, you're not supposed to be doing this. We're going to give you an exemption. We're not going to tell anybody about it for a while. We're just going to keep it until this fight happens. Floyd Mayweather has been going around for years saying that he's doing Olympic-style drug testing. That's a lie. He's not, okay? Olympic-style drug testing is 365 days a year, completely random, no notice at all to the athlete. Floyd's not doing that. The way his contracts work with USADA is that the testing does not start until after the fight is announced. Now think about that. Floyd has been waiting in recent years, almost until the last minute, to announce his fights. You remember with the Pacquiao fight, he had to be the one to announce it. He kept everyone hanging on. And then finally he announced it. Didn't seem like there was a lot of time to even promote that fight. The Andre Berto fight, he didn't announce that till August 4th, a month before the fight was supposed to happen. So in reality, guys, it's like this. Between May 3rd, the day after the Pacquiao fight, to August 4th, when he announced the Berto fight, there was no drug testing going on. He could do whatever he wanted during that time. That's not Olympic-style drug testing. And some of you out there might be saying, so what? He's not going to use drugs then. He's going to use them during camp. That's when you need them. No, that's false. Most performance-enhancing drugs, you get maximum benefit after you use them. This is common knowledge. You juice up before camp. You get all that stuff in your system cycling and building up. It half phases down, it half-lifes down. I'll get more into that later. Out of your system. But by the time it's out of your system, that's when your body has that maximum benefit. And not all performance-enhancing drugs are for strength. Some performance-enhancing drugs are to assist in tissue repair, right? Guys who have problems with their hands. Guys who have problems with muscles or whatever, fatigue, anything like that. There are certain PEDs out there that will assist in getting your body healed before you go into camp. So I talked about the TE ratio before, testosterone, epitestosterone, and the different levels that most of us, 95% of us have. Well, when athletes try to cheat and inject testosterone, your TE ratio might show up as 32 to 1, right? So what a lot of athletes will try to do is they'll also use synthetic epitestosterone. So it balances out. So a 32 to 32 will test and read as a 1 to 1. You get it? As long as your epitestosterone and your testosterone match, it's a 1-1, you pass the test. So a lot of athletes try to do that, but it's hard to manage because your body might not filter it out evenly. Maybe your body filters out your T level quicker than your E level, or vice versa. So a dead giveaway of this is when athletes come in with a TE ratio below 1, because that's not normal. That usually means you have a severe health problem. Here's something a lot of you Floyd Mayweather fans probably don't know. Your guy has tested positive for a low TE ratio numerous times by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, not even by USADA, just a standard Nevada State Athletic Commission urine test. He measured a 0.69 in 2011, a 0.8 in 2013. Now, generally speaking, in these situations, when a fighter or an athlete tests low like that, the next thing to do is to give the carbon isotope test. And you don't have to get a new sample from the athlete. You take that original sample you tested before. You do the carbon isotope test, and that's where you find out if there was synthetic testosterone, epitestosterone, and that's how you bust them. In these instances where the Nevada State Athletic Commission turned in these tests, oh, and by the way, guys, it's in the article. You can't see this. I'll try to put it up on the screen here, but I mean, this is the original. This is the test right here, guys. All right, this is the real thing. Not making this up. Both times Floyd tested for that low TE ratio, USADA was just, there was no carbon isotope test. They still haven't answered for it. They just kind of looked the other way. Generally speaking, USADA charges anywhere from 10 to 20,000 on average for their fights. For championship fights, it's more, maybe 30,000 to 40,000. Floyd has been paying over $100,000 for USADA services in recent years. In fact, he paid $150,000 just as an upfront fee to USADA for the fight with Pacquiao. When you're paying that kind of money, it's not hard to buy exemptions. You guys have been saying TBE for years. Maybe you should start saying TUE, therapeutic use exemption. I guess they're for sale. Now, I talked briefly about Vada, Volunteer Anti-Doping Agency. They use the carbon isotope test with every single urine sample. They have not been going around long in boxing. They've only done, I believe, 15 fights so far. But I have to give the WBC major credit here. I'm really hard on the sanctioning bodies, but the WBC has signed a deal with Vada that they will use them and their drug testing for all of their championship fights going forward. The upcoming Matisse-Postal fight will be the first under the WBC to use Vada drug testing. But, guys, go to the Vada website. They'll show you right on the homepage who uses their test right now. Some of the names might surprise you. I mentioned Matisse-Postal. Tim Bradley. That doesn't surprise us, right? We know he's a clean fighter. Jean Pascal. Ruslan Provodnikov. Chris Algieri. Guillermo Rigondeaux. Nonito Donaire, who I talked about earlier. Canelo Alvarez. I'm forgetting one. Who else? Oh, yeah. Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao's been using Vada testing. Interesting. Pacquiao and his camp wanted Vada testing for the fight with Mayweather. He insisted on USADA. The fight would not happen unless they went with USADA. Now, real briefly, I want to talk about how you beat one of these. This is a standard urine test. This is what the California State Athletic Commission uses. And by the way, I think the California State Athletic Commission is the best in the country. Their TE ratio that they allow is 4-1 or less. And by the way, that's WADA guidelines, 4-1. Nevada State Athletic Commission allows a 6-1 TE ratio. I wonder why certain fighters refuse to fight outside Nevada. I don't know. Kind of interesting though. But anyway, this is the urine test. I'm not sure how good you might be able to see all this, but there's generally a seal here. I've already opened it, right? You break the seal, you give your sample. There's a cap here on the top. There's a little tube here. You pop this tube out, you put it in the top, you seal it, right here. You take this off, you seal it. You put your information here, blah, 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 you hand it in, and this commission sends it off. Standard urine test there, just a couple of bucks, very cheap. Let's say that you are using synthetic testosterone. Let's say you have a test starting in 8 weeks, right? You're gonna announce your next fight in 8 weeks. You juice up all the way to a 32-1 TE ratio. Now, generally speaking, that sounds really bad. You're gonna fail a test anywhere, right? Synthetic testosterone, there are many different types, but it half-lives about every couple weeks. A half-life is your body filtering out a synthetic substance and cutting it in half, okay? That's the term, a half-life. So in a couple weeks, that 32 to 1 ratio will be 16 to 1. A couple weeks after that, it'll be 8 to 1. A couple weeks after that, it'll be 4 to 1. So you can juice up right now. You can get totally juiced. You can have a 32 to 1 TE ratio and just be a raging freaking gorilla. And in 6 weeks, your body will have filtered it down to a 4-1. You will pass the test, and the maximum benefit begins. So, you do your juicing up now. You announce your fight in 8 weeks and start camp in 8 weeks where you get the maximum benefit. You have a great camp. You come into that fight and whoop some ass. That's how easy it is to pass these tests given out by USADA. I presented a lot of information here, and it wasn't to bash any particular fighter. I'm just presenting the information, guys, and I'm just trying to be objective about it. A lot of media have tried to talk about this stuff, and they've been shunned. They've outright been banned by Heyman, Mayweather, and hopefully these things will get better. The more fans that are educated on these matters, the better this situation would get. And Floyd's not the first guy. He won't be the last guy to game the system. Eric Morales, in 2012, I think it was, he had a fight against Danny Garcia in New York. He tested positive for a banned substance multiple times. And USADA kept granting him exemptions and didn't even tell the New York State Athletic Commission until after the fight. So this is a pattern with them. And again, this was a situation where they were getting paid very well for their drug testing services during that promotion. It seems the fighters, the promoters, the entities that pay USADA more money tend to get more exemptions. Vada is the way to go. It is the best drug testing agency that we have right now. So far, we don't know of a way to beat the carbon isotope test. It's coming. They're going to find out how to do it, but it's the best test we got so far. Go to Vada's website. Google it. Look it up. Go to the website. Get educated. It's up to you as fans. It's easy for a fighter to sit back and accuse another fighter of juicing, but when you consider the source, when you consider that some of these guys have been working with USADA and they're bashing other fighters, you know, it kind of looks hypocritical. Take for instance Floyd. For years was accusing Manny Pacquiao of juicing. Pacquiao and his camp got sick of that, and they heard about Floyd's popping positive for a low TE ratio. And they said that's enough, and they sued him. A lot of you probably don't know about this, but Floyd Mayweather settled out of court, gave them a large check, and a confidentiality agreement was signed that none of that could ever be disclosed as far as, you know, the actual dollar amounts and whatnot. But let's just say Floyd Mayweather gave Manny Pacquiao a big fat check years before they even fought.
My dear friend, there's a misunderstanding in public and some media. There is always anti-doping test after the fight. Every single WBC championship fight has mandatorily to have an anti-doping test. The clean boxing program, which the WBC pays for and has been working for the last 6 years, is a random testing, which is expensive and which cannot cover the whole world. Some fights are contracted also by the promoters to have out of competition testing, but also it is very expensive. So not every title fight has the 2-3 months prior to the fights testing, and that is nothing wrong. The rule says anti-doping test after the fight. Everything else is efforts from the WBC, from boxing commissions, from promoters to keep boxing clean and to have that system of doing random testing. So I hope one day people can understand there is nothing wrong. Fundora or PBC or no one did nothing wrong, because the extra testing is just additional to the rules.
So I got Michael Montero doing the science and breaking it down, because that's what we're looking for. It's the science, okay? And then I put back to back Maurice now, Sullivan, or what, I can't get his name right. I just can't enough with this guy. But he's telling you the politics about it's too expensive. It's too expensive and we can't do all the fights. Well, if you can't do all the fights, listen to what he said. We can't do all the fights, just do the ones that count, like Undisputed and Unifying. Unifying and Undisputed, those two. Those are the ones that count, because we want to eat clean, level field, playing field, right? So, you know, he's saying that the science showing that you could pass. You could pass a post-test. You could pass that test. And every human being, just like Michael, and I did my research on it, and it's true. Every human being is 1-to-1 ratio when it comes to the testosterone and the epitestosterone. Now, if you're an athlete, 2-to-3, 2-to-1, 3-to-1. The exceptions probably 4-to-5. That's a 1%. That's kind of a 1% when you go up in those levels, right? And as you can see, New York, California, Nevada, they all have different ratios. Like California has 4-to-1. Nevada has 6-to-1, and that's why some people only want to fight in Nevada, right? With the ratio. And the half-life of this testosterone, you know, it goes down, because everything has a half-life. With synthetic testosterone, there's a half-life. You got cypionate, you got propionate, you got ethynate, and all of them have different half-lives. Some last 15 days, some last 12 days, some last 5 days, 10 days. But it gets broken down. It gets broken down, okay? And to beat any post-test, your ratio's got to be 1-1. So if it's a 50-50, you pass, because that's a 1-1 ratio. It have to level out. It has to level out. And if one filters out and the other one is high, then we got an issue. So if you're just saying, I use Vada for post-test, fine. You can use Vada for post-test. We still know that if you use USADA, Vada, the Athletic Commission, standard urine test or whatever, that can still pick up levels of testosterone, synthetic testosterone. Still, that's the post. You still have a chance in camp, before camp, to filter that shit out and bring it down to the right ratio for that state. So you still could pass it. It's still could get done, all right? So that's why I said it should be 8 weeks. 8 weeks prior to the fight, 8 weeks when you're in training, and post. That's it. All right. Like, share, subscribe. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here for you to read between the lines and put lines together and do your own research and try to figure this out. But this ain't that hard. All right. On to the next.